back working on this guitar. Now, as you can see, the design has changed a little bit. We're going to talk about that in a second. But I got it cut out, and I got it cut out rough, and there's a reason why I've done that also. But today what we're going to be doing is routing a neck pocket in this guitar for the neck to go into. This is the neck that's going on the guitar. So I'm going to show you the process of routing a neck pocket into a guitar when you don't got a template. Have a couple pieces of wood and you can route a nice tight neck pocket for your neck to fit into. First of all, on the design itself. So the things that's changed was I made this round instead of keeping it straight across, and I originally wanted to do that anyways. I just forgot to mark it last night. I marked it today before I cut it out. The horn stayed the same, but on the back end, the whole back end has changed, and the reason that was the customer, the guy that I'm building this for, stopped over last night, and I was getting ready to cut out the bandsaw when he stopped, and he made a comment about he didn't really care for them, the horns. Let me grab that guitar real quick. He said he didn't really care for this here on the back. He liked the front end, and the sides were already said, but he said the guitar body was too wide, it was a little awkward to play, and he's wanting to know if we could do something different. So we sat down and worked on different kinds of stuff for the back end, and nothing that we did he seemed to like anyways. So he ended up saying, what about if we put like a Strat style or something on the back end? And I said, okay, we can try it. So I don't know how good it's going to line up going in from square to round and out. I said, but let's give it a shot. So I just pulled out one of my tally templates, I believe, and laid it on there rough and just drew lines on it, and then came back through and started making them match and everything. It turned out pretty good. The horns were a little bit different because they changed a little bit, but we got them to where we got one of them, or we got them where he wanted them, and that's why the design has changed. So that's fine. It's his guitar, so he can do whatever he wants here. So I cut the body out rough. Now from here back, actually from anywhere besides the neck pocket, you could go ahead and finish it, sand it down, route it, whatever. But around the neck pocket itself, I want to leave extra meat on here till after I get my neck pocket cut in. Because the last thing I want to do is come through and sand all this to where I sand it all to where my lines are, then come through and realize that I don't have enough meat on either side to route a neck pocket to where maybe the neck would be sitting on there like this on the side. It's still going to be centered, but say I cut too much, sanded too much, or cut too much out of here, and it comes up in like this. So the best thing to do is cut the neck pocket out first, and once the neck pocket's out, you can put the neck in and come back through afterwards and either take it over the bandsaw and cut some of this out, or take it over to your spindle sander and sand all of this down. To make this process a little bit easier, what I found is if I take this is a 2x8 I believe, a 2x6 for a 2x8, this is a 2x8, and clamp it down to my bench. I got two clamps back here holding it. Back here you can't see, but it's clamped down to the bench and it hangs out over the bench a good bit. Now this will make this process a lot easier, because I used to do it, I used to clamp it down on the side of my bench like this, and you can get it down like that where you got to put clamps on the side, but it's tough. This way I can lay my body out here somewhere, and now I can do all my work out here, and I got all sorts of clamping positions anywhere on this neck. So if you got a 2x6 or a 2x8, 2x8 works fine. Hang it on over the edge of the bench, give it, 2 feet out over or so, 18 inches, whatever that is. What you're also going to need are a couple pieces of wood, and what I got here is a piece of 3/4 maple. This is about 2.5 inches wide and about 2 feet long, and or 4 feet long. I mean, not 2 feet long, 4 feet long. I got two pieces. They're 2.5 inches wide, 3/4 thick, and about 4 foot long. Now they don't have to be 4 foot long. In reality, they could be, the length of the body, less than the length of the body. But it's what I had, so that's what I'm going to use. We're going to use that to clamp that down like that. That'll be the sides, and then we'll end up coming up with another piece up inside here for our back. So what I've done first is I went ahead and marked where my neck pocket's going to be. So I took my neck on like this, found center, when I found center, went ahead and marked. Now that gives me a ballpark of where these things need to go. I can go ahead and set these things on the line like that, and come back through and put a clamp on each side back here. I got my 2 clamps in the back tightened down, and I went ahead and took one of these wooden clamps and clamped my neck down onto the body itself so it don't move. Then what you do is you're going to loosen these ones back up, and you're going to adjust them until your board runs the edge of the fretboard the whole way down, and back on both sides. So there's no gaps at all. So these boards are basically following the line of the neck the whole way down, the whole way back. And now whenever you get these tight against here, up on the neck the whole way, go ahead and clamp these clamps down. Now, you want these things tight against the side of this neck. So what I'll do a lot of times is I'll take another clamp, put it on here, and clamp these things down tight to the neck. Then put my 2 clamps on here, then put 2 more clamps on right here. And that'll make sure that this neck pocket is going to be really tight. So a clamp here, the clamp to pull these tight against the side of the neck, and once they're tight, 2 more clamps. That puts you 4 clamps back here. Then at that point you can take off this clamp, and your neck should stay in place because of the pressure of the wood. And then you can just double check. I drew a line down the center of my fretboard here, and I got my center line on my body back here, and I'll just take a guitar string or a piece of real fine thread or something and line it up on my lines and make sure everything's centered. Make sure the neck's centered on the body on my center line. Once that's done, then you can move on to putting this piece of wood in back here for the back of the neck. To give you an idea what it looks like, I got my 4 clamps holding this down, my wooden clamp still on, and I got my bar clamp that I pulled this piece of wood and this piece of wood tight against the neck. And as you can see the whole way up through, it's tight against on both sides the whole way down the neck and on this side. So now we'll take this clamp off. We don't need it on here anymore. That's going to stay. And then next we'll take this wooden clamp off here. And then what I'll do is I'll take my, like I said, my guitar string, and I'll line up where my lines are. I got my center line there that runs the whole length, and my glue line on my body. And I'll double check and confirm that this neck is perfectly straight and I'm ready to route a pocket. After everything is clamped in and all these clamps are removed, I can now take my guitar string, and what I'll do is I'll lay it on my center line here, like so. Lay it on the center line about at the 7th fret, and then the center line here, and then at the back of the guitar body back here I also lay it on, so it's in 3 different places like that. And I can look down across there and I can tell that that neck is dead center. So that neck is now centered, and I got my straight line running the whole length, the neck, whole length of the body. At this point, I can go ahead and take this neck out. It's going to be tight. There we go. Now, all I got to do now is come back through here and put a board in here and line it up on my line back here. And then I'll be ready to start routing this cavity out. On this back piece here, I just took a maple the same thickness as these 2 pieces of wood and lined it up. I got my line drawn where I'm going to get the back of the pocket. I took a piece of double stick tape and just taped it down. Now it's not going anywhere. Now I can go ahead and take a paddle bit on a drill and start to drill some of this out. Now the neck pocket's only going to be about 5/8 of an inch deep total when it's all done. So you don't want to go in with this thing real deep. You just want to take a little bit out of it. you can see here that I've already routed the neck pocket out. Now I didn't record that because with the angle and everything, you wouldn't have seen anything. So I decided not to record me actually routing the pocket, but it's routed. And what I used is just a regular router here, and then I used a straight bit with a bearing on the back side of it. And these pieces of wood act as a guide, so as you route down in, this bearing's going to run along this piece of wood and give you a nice square neck pocket. So now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and take these two boards off, all the clamps off. Then I got to come back through with a chisel because the back of my neck is actually squared off, and with the router bit it actually rounds it. So I got to back with the chisel and actually square these two corners up here. And I came back through and I squared off my two corners so the neck fits in there nice and tight. Now this is where I can come back through now and bring these two lines here and work them back in. As you can see, I got a lot of meat up here that needs to come off to get that line back to here. And same way over here. Not as much over here, just kind of like smooth it up a little bit. It'll be good to go. We'll also sand the rest of this body down. Probably take it to the bandsaw and cut some of this stuff off so we can get it closer to that line so it's easy to smooth down. So now what I got to do is I'm going to take this neck and I put it in this neck pocket, and the neck should fit tight enough to where you can hold the guitar by the neck with no bolts, no tape, no nothing, and it should stay inside the neck pocket. So let me go ahead and get this put in. Like that. So like I said, no tape, no bolts, the neck is in there nice and tight, and it's just being held in by the compression joint